And game theory in general, we do not follow the principle of maximum profit or minimum of minimum loss, because we are dealing with the game. Game means there should be a sport, you can see the spirit of game. So there is a no business. At the same time, we have decision making problems where we use the different type of criteria. So in this session, we will discuss what is the game theory, and then we will discuss some of the methods related to the game theory. So in nutshell, I want to convey that in game theory, we use the criteria of game theory, that is max mini profit of A is equal to mini max loss of B. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दो जो हैं लोग गेम खेल रहे हैं, तो गेम में जो एक बिकॉज गेम में यही बात रहती है कि सामने वाले को लॉस हो, सामने वाले से प्रॉफिट हो, यानी मिनिमम प्रॉफिट को आप मैक्सिमम कैसे लॉस यूज कर सकें. ऐसा नहीं है कि सामने वाले को मैक्सिमम लॉस में से भी मैक्सिमम लॉस करें. दैट इज नॉट द गेम. दैट इज कॉल्ड द डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रॉब्लम्स. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी हैव game theory. Game theory is the study of how people interact and make decisions. And competitive situation between two parties are situation in which reaction by one party is depend upon the action taken by the another. For example, there is a game between India and Pakistan. So they use different strategies. And there are limitations also. But they have to use. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो ऐसी स्ट्रेटेजी का यूज करेंगे जो गेम के प्रिंसिपल के अपोजिट हो, बिकॉज गेम इज जस्ट लाइक ए प्ले. तो दे विल नॉट फॉलो the rules of military. They will not follow the rules of war. That is the difference between the competitive situation in game and competitive situation in war. So game theory is basically based on the principle of game. It means this may be your fair game. It means sometimes we play the game where there is a no loss and no profit. So anyway, so it is mathematical study which deals with the general features of competitive situation. Competitive situation means there are two parties or more than two parties. The reaction of one party is dependent on the action of the other party. What strategy you will follow, then after I will decide what I need to be followed to attack the opponent party. For example, in a game of chess, आपकी क्या strategy है, आपने क्या action लिया है, then after I will decide what is the suitable strategy for me. So this deal with the competitive situation, and examples are chess game, games of card, marketing strategy, because it is relevant to the competitive situation, and among companies, rival companies, where they formulate different strategies. They follow the marketing strategy because they have so many brands in the market. So they different strategy used for the purpose of valuation of their product and making maximum benefit from market. So these are some of the examples, but this is not the decision making problems. This is in this game we follow the principle of game where we use the max mini or mini max criteria. So we come to the history of the game. So it has a long history from 1928, before the operation research started. Some of have done on this field. John Van Neumann wrote a key paper and invented mini-max principle, which implies that each competitor will act so as to minimize his maximum loss or maximize his minimum gain. Right? For example, what do you think? You see कि मुझे क्या क्या फायदा हो सकता है अगर मैंने मान लीजिए एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं कि आपने इस कोर्स में आप आए, कोर्स में आने से आपका नॉलेज अपडेट हो सकता है और इसके अलावा आपको अदर बेनिफिट्स हो सकता है. तो यू मेक a list of benefits and then at least minimum what benefit be there, right? Out of that maximum benefit we choose the minimum benefit. क्या कम से कम ये तो मिलेगा, राइट? ये अपन इन जनरल भाषा में बात करते हैं कि चलो कोई बात नहीं है, हमें शॉर्ट टर्म कोर्स अटेंड करने के लिए मिलेगा, हमें आउटिंग मिलेगी, हमें चंडीगढ़ जो है उसका प्लेटफॉर्म मिलेगा, राइट? सो वी डिसाइड सो मेनी बेनिफिट्स, आउट ऑफ दैट वी से इट इज मिनिमम ये तो मिलेगा. एट द सेम टाइम लॉस की बात करें तो आप कहेंगे कि हमारे 5 दिन खराब होंगे, ट्रैवलिंग एक्सपेंसेस लगेगा, राइट? और मेरी जो है अदर असाइनमेंट जो है वो सफर करेंगे और मैं भी सम अदर लॉस. एंड दैट पॉइंट यू विल चूज द मैक्सिमम का जो है मिनिमम आप देखेंगे. सो दीज आर द बेसिक प्रिंसिपल ऑफ गेम थ्योरी, मिनी मैक्स एंड योर मैक्स मिनी प्रिंसिपल to achieve the best of the worst. Then in 1944, Theory of Games and Economic Behavior by von Neumann and Morgenthaler. In 1950, Nash invents concept of Nash equilibrium. This is a Nash equilibrium games is available. Then 1995, Harsanvi, Nash and Shelton win Nobel Prize in Economics for game theory work. It has been started from 1928. Then the person in 1994 they got Nobel Prize for this game theory work. So what are the key elements of game theory? There are total 3 elements. One is the player. How many players are there? Because if you have more than 2 players, the game becomes very complex. But in this session, we will only discuss the 2% zero sum game. Right? Zero sum means the loss of one person. The algebraic sum of loss and profit is 0. You can say the loss of is considered as a negative quantity and the profit is considered as a positive quantity. So the total algebraic sum of all the losses and profits is 0. Then strategies. What are their available course of actions? What they can choose? How many options are available? These are called the strategies. Their opinions. Then payoff matrix. What corresponding to each and every strategy, what they gain or what they lose. So this is the payoff, their incentives, their gain, their loss. Because we assume that the algebraic sum is 0. It means the profit of one player will be the loss of another player. So payoff matrix will give the information about the loss and gain to the to the players corresponding to their strategy. Now we have definition of game. An activity between 2 or more players. This is theoretical definition of game theory. Game. So an activity in general we say game means where there are more than players. They play an activity which does not involve any of the benefit. That is the game in general. But nowadays game theory is extended in the business market. So different companies uses different strategy within the preview of their limitations. They cannot cross that limitation. That is why they adopt the game theory principles. Right? In our academics, for example, we are all teachers. We want to grow ourselves, and we know that we are opponent to each other, but we cannot cross that boundary. We have to live in that area, and in that area we need to grow ourselves by using different strategies. So this is a game spirit. You can say we use the game. Competitive situation is there, right? Yes, but when we come to the war, For example, war is going on between India and Pakistan. They will not use the game theory principle. They will use the max loss to the one player, and mini max profit from there, and mini loss, right? They want to minimize their minimized loss. So as a game, the definition is an activity between two or more players involving action by each one of them according to a set of rules. Their set of rules is defined, which results in some gain, positive or negative or zero. If in the game the actions are determined by skills, it is called game of strategy. It is determined by chance, it is game of chance. That is very important. Nowadays, game of chance is not there. We use the game of strategy. So there are two players, they have different strategy. Corresponding to their different strategy, there is a payoff matrix. Now, within this payoff matrix, we will decide what will be the optimal solution to that game theory. A competitive situation is called game if it has following properties, because when we formulate some mathematical models, or when we formulate some solution techniques, we need to assume some of the assumptions, right? So there are some properties. It means there are finite number of participants called player. If you have infinite number of players, we cannot deal with that situation, and that competitive situation cannot be said as a your game. So there must be finite number of participants. Each player has a finite number of possible course of actions. That is very important. So each and every player has finite number of strategies, finite number of we can say course of actions. ऐसा नहीं कि infinite number of strategies. So it will not be formulated as a game theory. Then all the course of action must be known to each player, but must not known which of these will be chosen. We have a payoff matrix. We have the information that what strategies will give the profit or loss corresponding to the strategy of other player. But what strategy is to be chosen to satisfy the max mini and mini max criteria, that is not. A play is said to be played. Yes, any questions from the participant at different nodal center? They are not connected? Okay. So please connect Dr. Deepak. Yes, Dr. Deepak, any questions?
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning. We have already started the game theory session.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, in a chess-like situation, can we define payoff metrics?
See, there are in chess, there are we can say we can define the payoff matrix, and even this is also involve the uncertainty.
Because there are infinite permutation and combination.
Yes, that is why we cannot formulate a payoff matrix in chess, because there are so many strategies are there.
So why we give example of chess in game theory?
See, we say if we have finite number of strategies, then that type of game, that type of situation can be your game. So for particular chess, we have finite number of strategies. Then that type of competitive situation can be formulated as a game. That is what I want to say.
But in game of chess, I don't think there are finite number of strategy.
I agree with you. Even I know it is not possible. But if we assume that we have finite number of strategies, then that type of situation can be formulated as a game.
I say game. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Because in chess chess has infinite number of strategies. So it is very difficult. It is not possible to find a payoff matrix corresponding to each and every strategy. What will be the gain and what will be the loss? So, but we have given the example with the assumption that we have finite number of strategy in a chess game between two players, right? For example, we are playing Ludo. Ludo is finite number of, because we have only four uh, strategies which कौन सा आप चलाएंगे. So that Ludo can be formulated as a game, as a payoff matrix. It is possible. But when we come to the chess is an infinite number of strategies, and it is very difficult. But if we have assumed that chess with finite number of strategy, then that type of competitive situation can be formulated as a game. So these are the game. If there are finite number of participants called player, and each player has a finite number of possible course action. This is very important. And Dr. Deepak, I want to let you know that these are the properties, that each player has a finite number of possible action, course of action, then only we say it is a game. And all the course of action must be known to each player, but must not known which of these will be chosen. They have information, they have payoff matrix, but what action will be chosen as an optimal strategy in order to satisfy the max mini and mini max criteria, that is not known. Then a play is said to be played when each of players chooses a single course of action from the list of course of action available to him. It means they have finite number of strategies, finite number of course of actions. After all, participants have chosen a course of action, their respective gains are also finite. That is very important. If you say they will gain the infinite number, that is not permissible in the game theory. So all the participants, whatever their course of action is there must be finite gain or loss. To the gain of the players depend on their own action and those of others. So profit of the player depend on their own actions as well as the reaction of the others. So these are some of the properties of game theory. And in game theory we have assumptions, because this is a game. This is not like decision making with decision making problems. We have separate criteria. One is the decision making problem and second is the game theory problem. So in decision making theorem, decision making problems, we use the different principles, max, mini. But in game, we are restricted to use the principle of max, mini and mini max principle. So we have different categories. One person game, obviously one person game will have only one person to, and he or she will choose the course of action corresponding to their own criteria. And zero sum game, it means the algebraic sum of all the gains and profits to all the players is zero. It means the profit of one player is the loss of other players. And non-zero sum game, it means the algebraic sum of profits and losses is not zero. It means if you say there is some fluctuation of gain and some third party is involved. 2% game and then 2% zero sum game. We have 2% and it is zero sum game. It means we have the algebraic sum of gain and profit and loss is zero. The profit of one player is equal to the loss of other player. So this is the zero sum game. So 1% game, a 1% game has no real conflict of interest. Only the interest of player in the achieving a particular state of game exists. For example, I am playing a game with my own in computer or in mobile. So it means 1% game. So there is no conflict of interest. whatever I will gain, whatever I will lose, it will be of me, because the other person is not in it. So only the interest of player in achieving a particular state of the game exists. Single person games are not interesting from a game theory perspective, because there is a no adversary making conscious choice that the player must deal with. So this is the single person game. Now zero sum game. So zero sum game, as it indicates, a zero sum game is one in which no wealth is created or destroyed. Right? We have taken this literature from theoretical aspect of the books. So we have given this task to our students. Right? So we try to explain these things in a theoretical way so that the participant from different stream can understand. As a mathematics person, I can only say the zero sum game is the game where the algebraic sum is zero of all the profit and loss. But for a person from a different background, so we say a zero sum game is one in which no wealth is created, no destroyed. So in two player zero sum game, whatever one player wins, the other loses. Therefore, the player share no common interest. It is just like a game. There are two general types of zero sum games: those with perfect information and those without perfect information. When even nowadays the persons are working on some uncertain game theory, where information related to the strategies are given in probabilistic manner. So they are using some probabilistic distribution, they are using some different algorithms to deal with that situations. So my one of colleague, Dr. Vishwasdeep from JEC University, is working on game theory. So in zero sum game, the algebraic sum of all profits and losses is zero. If the total gains of the participants are added up and the total losses are subtracted, they will be summed to zero. Examples is your poker game. And then your paper game. आप जब क्या कहते हैं अपन हैं हाँ. So this is example of poker game. That's there are three players: Rajesh, Suresh, and Varun. Each starting with 1,000. Total is 300. So we are talking about the zero sum game. Zero sum game means the sum of is algebraic sum is zero. They meet at Rajesh house and play for a couple of hours. At the end of the evening, Rajesh has 200, Suresh has 60, and Varun has 40. Then again, the total amount between them is 300. Rajesh is up at rupees 100. He win 100 rupees, and Suresh is down 40 rupees, and the Varun is 60 rupees. The total of this three is zero. It is zero sum game. Even obvious सी बात है कि इसमें फ्लक्चुएशन तो कहीं है नहीं. Your algebraic sum will be दो अगर फ्रेंड्स अपन में खेल रहे हैं तो एक जीतेगा एक हारेगा. In non-zero sum game, one player's game need not to be bad news for the other. Indeed, in highly non-zero sum games, the players' interest overlap entirely. For example, अभी आज की बात करें, so government has played a game with us. There is a non-zero sum game. हैं? नहीं, लोग नोट चेंज भी करा रहे हैं और उससे सोना भी खरीद रहे हैं, बट इट इज नॉट जीरो सम गेम. 500 की जो वैल्यू है वो डिक्लाइनिंग है. तो अगर दो प्लेयर्स की बात करें, वन इज फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट साइड एंड अदर इज द पब्लिक, they have played the game, it is non-zero sum game. You can see, आज जो सोना 30,000 में मिल रहा था आज 50,000 में मिल गया. तो it is what, where this कहाँ पे जो है आपका अमाउंट कहाँ लूज हुआ. दिस इज जीरो सम गेम. पहले आपको 500 रुपए में 500 रुपए की चीज मिलती थी, आज आप देख लो 500 रुपए में 450 रुपए की चीज मिल रही है. राइट. Money value is decreased, but in context of game theory, we can say it is a non-zero sum game with the government and as a public. Your prisoner's dilemma. Anyway, in game theory, situation where one decision maker's gain does not necessarily result in the other decision maker's loss. The profit of one player is not equal to the loss of the other player. In other words, where the winnings and the losses of all the players do not add up to zero and everyone can gain, a win-win game. It is also possible that it may be a win-win game. And we have an example of prisoner's dilemma. We will show you what is this example. So before that, two-person games are competitive situation with only two players, and it is a simple case of n-person game because we will not consider one-person game because one-person game is limited to the criteria of one person. So then these games are extensively analyzed by game theory and your marketing persons, because when we have two brands, what strategies to be used. So that type of games are analyzed by game theorists and marketing persons. This is 2% zero sum game. When we have two persons and the loss of 1% is equal to the profit of other, then we say it is a 2% zero sum game. Just like poker game with two players, election restricted to between two major parties. So election is also we consider a game. So when there is only two parties, then it is called the 2% zero sum game. One will win and other will lose. So this is the elements we already discussed. Now what is the strategy? Strategy is the course of action. What a set of predefined rules. What he or she will choose. As Dr. Deepak said from CET College, whether we can consider chess as a game or not. Obviously, because if we assume that there are limited strategy, then only we can formulate this as a game. But in general, game has infinite number of strategy. In my point of view, what I know about this game, they have so many strategies. So what is strategy? A set of predefined rules or alternatives available to each player in a game. What are the alternatives available to you? Then there are two types of strategy. One is the pure strategy and second is the mixed strategy. What is the pure strategy? It means when the player uses one and only one strategy. And the mixed strategy means when the player uses combination of more than one strategies with different probabilities, then it is called the mixed strategy. मान लीजिए दो दोस्त जो हैं वो आपस में खेल रहे हैं, उसने केवल एक ही चाल चलनी है, then they will use the pure strategy. If they can use the more than one strategies, then this type of strategy is the mixed strategy. So pure strategy, when a player uses only one strategy at a time, deterministically, these are called pure strategy. And when a player uses combination of pure strategies, more than one strategies are being used with some probability distribution, these are called your mixed strategy. The optimal strategies to each player for those course of action which put the player in most preferred position in game according to some criteria. What are the optimal strategy? The optimal strategy to each and every player is the strategies which follow the game theory criteria, which in general is the max mini and mini max criteria. Right? So pure strategy means only one strategy is chosen. आपके पास एक ऑप्शन है, आपके मैनेजमेंट ने आपको कहा है कि या तो यू रिजाइन, you have one option, either you take 20 classes, you have so many options. So if you are taking only one action, one strategy, then it is called pure strategy. If you are choosing the more than one with different ratio, कि कोई बात नहीं सर, मैं 20 की जगह 18 ले लूंगा और मेरी सैलरी भी बोलिए आप कम कर दीजिए, right? You are compromising in some way. So in that situation, you are using the mixed strategy, right? And optimal strategies are those strategies to each and every player which follow the game theory principle, max mini and mini max principle. This is payoff. So we have two players, A and B, and this is A's payoff. It means if player A uses his first strategy and player B is also using his first strategy, their profit is A11. Right? मान लीजिए आपने और मैं दो दोस्त खेल रहे हैं, ताश खेल रहे हैं, इक्का निकल गया. अगर मैंने इक्का निकाल दिया और आपने भी जो है कुछ दूसरा आपके पास भी ऑप्शन थे, तो मुझे क्या प्रॉफिट होगा? मान लीजिए आपने भी इक्का निकाल दिया तो मुझे हो सकता है प्रॉफिट हो, और आपने किंग निकाल दिया तो मुझे क्या प्रॉफिट होगा? सो दिस ऑल वैल्यूज आर in the form of matrix is the payoff matrix. So we have two players A and B, and there are different strategies, different total your m number of strategies are available to player A, and we have A22 means if player A uses its second strategy and player B also uses its second strategy, then the profit to player A is A22. This is A's payoff matrix. If we transpose this matrix, we will have payoff for B player. And AJ means if A player uses I's strategy and B player uses J's strategy, then we will have profit to A player is AIJ. Right? So this is the matrix, payoff matrix for player A. In the same way, if it is a zero-sum game, we can find out the payoff matrix of B. Right? So we have an example of this payoff matrix. Two rivalry firms A and B producing same kind of products with different strategy to increase revenue and their payoff according to strategy used, that can be shown. For example, two firms are there, they are producing the same product and they have different strategies like advertising. They will if they use the advertising strategy, if they promote advertising, and the opponent party uses this strategy discount to retailers, then what will be the profit of this party, A party? It will be 2. And if your firm A is using advertising strategy and firm B is using the strategy of increasing the salesman, the profit is -1 to player A. It means it is loss to player A and profit to player B. If you assume that it is a zero-sum game. So this is -1 indicate, it means advertising की strategy इसने choose की है और increasing salesman की strategy इसने choose की है. Then the profit to A firm is -1. These are the different strategies, different profit to firm A. and we have make a matrix with finite number of strategies and of each and every player and their correspondingly gain and loss to the players. So if firm A uses their sales offers, if they promote the sales offers, and then your player B uses its research on product, there will be profit of -2. It means the firm A will have loss of -2 because it is a payoff matrix of firm A. So all the values are here to show the profit of firm A. Right? So there are total 3 strategies of player your firm A and 3 strategies of firm B. So even more than 3 they can use. It is not necessary that always we have a square matrix. Rectangular matrix is possible as a payoff matrix. So matrix whose entries are payoff for different strategies of each player is payoff matrix, and outcome of the game and the counter gain of the strategy to play for any given strategy of opponent player is the payoff matrix. And this is the example of two firms. They use a different strategy, and according to their strategy, their payoff is given in this matrix. Right? Now, what is the solution of a game? So, as we are dealing with the game theory, we will adopt the max, mini, and mini max criteria. So, the strategies which satisfy the max, mini, and mini max criteria will be the optimum strategy, and corresponding payoff to player will be the value of the game. That is what the idea. This is the solution of a game. Solution of a game means what are the optimal strategies of each and every player along with their corresponding payoff. So solution of a game, by solving a game, we mean to find the best strategy to both the player and the value of game. Best strategy means the optimal strategy which satisfies the max, mini, and mini max criteria. The value of game is the maximum guaranteed gain to a player if both the player uses their best strategies. It is generally denoted by V and is unique. If the value of game is 0, then it is called a fair game. For example, if value of game is 0, the final output using the best strategies, using the optimal strategy is 0, it means it is a fair game. In game theory, the best strategies or optimal strategies for each player are determined on the basis of maximum and minimum criteria of optimality. This is the fundamental theorem of game theory. It is max mini profit of A and mini max loss of B. When there are two players, the strategies which follow this criteria, it means we want the minimum profit of A, and out of that minimum, the maximum profit A will be the strategy corresponding to the maximum of minimum profit A will be your optimal strategy for player A. And this value, this payoff is called your value of game. Right? So max mini and mini max. This is the fundamental theorem of game theory. The strategies corresponding to max mini and mini max will be the optimal strategies, and the corresponding payoff is the value of the game. But when we deal about the decision making situation, that criteria is not followed. Sometimes we want the max profit of A. We want, in general, in our competitive situation, we say we want the maximum of profit to maximum. And if we are facing the loss, we are interested in minimizing the minimum loss. But in game, because game is a different situation where you use the max mini and mini max loss criteria, mini max profit. Then corresponding value of game, a payoff matrix is the value of game, and corresponding strategies are optimal strategies. So any questions from the participant at different nodal center? Any questions from the participant? Dr. Deepak, CT College.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, can you give example of mixed strategy and pure strategy?
Yes.
Practical example where mixed strategy and pure strategy can be used.
Hmm.
Uh,
Practical
for,
example.
for example, suppose I choose a first strategy.
Hmm.
So I maximize my game. I want to maximize my game, and the second player want to minimize his loss. ठीक है? But in case of mixed strategy, what happens?
What happens? So, to give you a real-time example of mixed strategy, for example, you and me are in some competitive situation, right? So, what I will do and what you will do. For example, you and me are on some competitive situation. So, I will definitely, we are facing the same interview. For example, we both went to some recruitment interview. So, I will definitely upgrade my knowledge, as well as I will also upgrade my research publications and projects, all that. I will use each and every strategy accordingly. And if I only on the basis of my knowledge, that means I am using over only pure strategy. So I think this is the real example which I want to share with you, and this is not personal. So Dr. Deepak, are you getting my point? Huh? You got my point?
I got your point.
Okay. Now we come to the please connect Manav Rachna University. Dr. Vijay Kumar, any question?
No question, sir.
Please connect RC Khetan Polytechnic. Yes, Dr. Rajesh, any question?
डॉक्टर जी मेरा कह सकते हैं परपेचुअल
Yes, please.
मिनीमैक्स को थोड़ा एक बार एग्जांपल से बता पाएंगे?
मिनीमैक्स को अभी हम क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, ये क्लियर हो जाएगा. अभी हम आगे इनके क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, न्यूमेरिकल क्वेश्चन, तब ये क्लियर हो जाएगी.
राइट सर, थैंक यू.
और मरुधर कॉलेज not connected. Okay. So what is the saddle point? When the player uses pure strategy, then where and corresponding payoff is called the saddle point. Where mini max of profit of A is equal to max mini loss of B, that payoff is called the saddle point. So as a definition, a saddle point of a payoff matrix is that position in the matrix where maximum of row minima, because we are interested in finding the maximum of row minima coincide with the minimum of the column maxima. Our principle is max mini profit of A, right? So for player A, we are talking that maximum of row minima coincide with the minimum of column maxima. The cell entries at the saddle point is called the value of K. And this is also called the game with saddle point. So a game for which maximum of minimum of A and minimax for B is called game with saddle point. There is a correction that max mini. Now we come to the games with pure strategies, and we have a solution of rectangular game with saddle points. When both the player uses only their pure strategy, no combination of strategies is used, then that type of games is called the game with saddle points. Right? So it is very elementary method, and this saddle point is detected in following steps. First, we select the minimum element of each row, and we encircle them, and then select the maximum element in each column, and we enclose in a small square to distinguish between the circle, and we take a small square. and a point which enclosed within the circle and the square both is the saddle point, because we take the minimum of row, maximum of column. So this is the question. So we have this 4 strategy to player A and 5 strategy to player B. And if we take the minimum of each row, so minimum of in first row will be -2. Yes, and maximum is 5. In the second row, the minimum is 1 and maximum is 1. So saddle point is 1. In the third row, minimum is 0. Sorry, -4 and maximum in next row minimum is -4. Sorry, -6. So we will have the saddle point at 1. I think 1 is the common where the circle and square is meted. So this is your value of the game, and this corresponding strategy. Second strategy to the player A and third strategy to player B are optimal strategy and are pure strategy, because the combination of strategies are not being chosen by the player. If he said, if player A will choose 20% of first strategy, 60% of second strategy, and 20% of fourth strategy, then that type of combination is called the mixed strategy. So that is the difference between pure means they uses only one and only one strategy. Mixed strategy means they uses the combination of strategies. So for the RC Khetan Polytechnic, I will solve this game on blackboard. And we have a game. Player A has first, second, third, and fourth strategies, and player B has first, second, third, fourth, and fifth strategies. These are the values: -2, 0, 0, 5, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, plus 2, then -4, -3, 0, -2, 6, 5, 3, -4, 2, minus. This is payoff matrix. Of A player. So it means when player B uses his second strategy and player A uses his second strategy and player B uses his third strategy, then the profit to player A is 1. That is the payoff matrix. And in our game theory, we use the max mini profit. So if there is a saddle point exists, so we take minimum of each row. Minimum in the first row is your -2. We make one circle. And in second row, minimum is 1. So we make circle on minimum element. And in third row, minimum is minus. In fourth row, minimum is minus. Then for maxima, in each and every column we choose the maximum value and we make square on that element. So in first column, maximum element is 5. So we make this square. In second, there is 3 maximum element. And in third column, maximum element is 0. Sorry, 1. So this is here, 1. And in fourth column, it is 5 and 6. So you can see this is the element which is encircled as well as square. So this is your saddle point. This is the point where this criteria is followed, criteria is satisfied, and this is called saddle point. So the optimal strategy, so value of the game is 1, and optimal strategies for player A. For player A, it is second, and for player B, it is third. So this is about the saddle point and pure strategy. They are using only one strategy. So these are the pure strategies. Both these are your pure strategies. Right?
One is the profit of A and loss of B.
Yes. Yes. This is this is the minimax criteria. This is the profit of A and loss of B. It is payoff matrix of A. Payoff matrix of A means it only indicates the profit of A, and if profit of A is equal to the loss of B. Right? So participant from RC Khetan Polytechnic College. Yes.
Is clear, well clear through your example, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we this is again new example, games with saddle point. In this game you can see if we choose the minimum element of first row, we will have 1 and this one. In second row the minimum element is -4, and in third row minimum element is -1. And in columns, so maximum element will be 1. As we said, 1 is also the minimum element of row and maximum element of first row column. And in second second column, maximum element is 5, and in third column maximum element is 1. So both there are two alternate optimal strategies. Value of game is the same, 1, and but in this case the problem has optimal pure strategies, alternate pure strategies. It means player A will choose the first strategy, but player B can choose first and or third strategy. So this is about the games with saddle points, and in this game only pure strategies are being used. There is no combination of strategies used. Now we come to the games without saddle point. So we will start from the game with 2x2 game. It means the payoff matrix is in 2x2 matrix. So any zero sum 2-player game where the optimal strategies are not pure strategy, and for which A's payoff is given in this format. So here saddle point does not exist. So what we can do, we use the probability, because the max mini and mini max loss is equal to the profit is equal to the your mini max loss. So we assign the probability to each and every strategy, and then we find the formula. So these are the optimal strategies, x1 and x2, y1 and y2, and this is the value of game. So if your this one A player is using first strategy with x1 probability and second strategy with x2 probability, then we can find out the x1 and x2. And similarly, if B player is using first strategy with y1 and second strategy with y2, then by using this formula we can find the value of x1, x2 and y1, y2. Even x1, x2 have relationship x1 plus x2 is equal to 1 and y1 plus y2 is equal to 1. Right? And value of the game is given by this formula. So derivation part has been skipped for this particular lecture, and this is the optimal strategy for both the players. And value of game is given by this formula. So we have one example of this 2 cross 2. So the person who is from mathematics or who is teaching mathematics, they know how to find the probabilities corresponding x1, x2. So I will show you on the blackboard. We have this game. -1, -3, -2, and this is 3. So if you use the saddle point method, minimum of first row is -3. So we will make circuit. And in second row, minimum is -2. When we go first column, maximum value is -1. And in second column, maximum is 2. It means there is no saddle. It means mixed strategy will be used by players. Right? So using this formula, we have formula like if you are giving x1 proportion to first strategy and x2 proportion to second strategy of player A, and for player B it is y1 and y2. So we have formula. This is the formula as we have already mentioned in the slide. X1 upon x2 is equal to A22 minus A21, A11 minus A1. And also we have relationship that total probability is 1. It means x1 plus x2 is 1. Using this matrix, this is your A11, A12, A21, A22. So we use these values. A22 is 2, minus 2. Then A11 is -1, minus A12 is minus 3. This is 4 upon 3 plus 3 minus 1, that is 2. So they have x1 is equal to 2x2. If you put into this equation, it is 2x2 plus x2 is equal to 1. It means your 3x2 is equal to 1 and x2 is equal to 1 by 3. If x2 is equal to 1 by 3, x1 will be 2 by 3. If we use this formula, this relationship, where x1 will be 2x2, that is 2 by 3. So your value of x1 is 1 by 3 and 2 by 3 for player A. It means player A is using 33% of first strategy and 66.6% to the second strategy in order to meet the game theory criteria, fundamental theorem. Now we do the same calculation for the strategies of player B. For B, we have formula y1 upon y2 A22 minus A12 A11 minus A21, and also we have relationship that y1 plus y2 is 1. When we put values A22, that is, this is your A22, 2 minus A12, that is minus 3. Then A11 minus 1 minus A21, that is minus. It is 5 upon 1. This is equals to 5. So we have y1 is equal to 5 by 2. Again we know that your y1 plus y2 is 1. Total probability is 1. So we put the value of y1, that is 5, y2 plus y2 is 1. So 6y2 is equal to 1 and y2 is equal to 1 by 6. If your y2 is 1 by 6, you can calculate y1. y1 is 5 y2, 5 by 6. So the strategy for B player is 5 by 6 and 1 by 6. So value of y1 is 5 by 6 and 1 by 6. Then we will calculate the value of gain. So value of gain, we have formula A11 A22 minus A12 A21. Upon me, we will add all the quantities A11 plus A22 minus A12 A21. Okay. We put the values. A11 is minus 1, A22 is 2. So minus 1, 2 minus A12 is minus 3 and A21 is minus 2. We have minus 1 plus 2 minus 3 minus 2. So after solving this, we will have minus 2 minus 6 upon plus 1 minus minus plus 6, 7. So it will be minus 5. Then becomes plus 5 and 1, 6. Okay. Minus 8 by 6. It is equals to minus 4 by 2. Right? So for this particular question, we have solution. Optimal strategy. A is using 1 by 3 and 2 by 3. So A 1 by 3 and 2 by 3. These are the proportion of the strategies used by the player A according to the fundamental principle of game. Right? For B, it is 5 by 6 and 1 by 6, and B value of game is minus 4 by 3. It means if they uses this strategy in their given proportion, the value of game will be minus 4 by 3. So this is the one of the example how we solve a 2 cross 2 matrix. The 2 cross 2 game which has no saddle point. Clear? So, and now we come to the rules of dominance properties. So any questions? Any questions from the participant at different nodal center, they can ask.
एक्सक्यूज मी फ्रॉम केदान कॉटनी सर.
Yes, yes, please.
जी सर, आपने बताया गेम का जो वैल्यू आया -4/3 आया.
हाँ.
इसको फिजिकल एग्जांपल, मतलब इसका मीनिंग, फिजिकल मीनिंग थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन करेंगे तो थोड़ा ठीक रहेगा.
देखिए, इसका आप जो एग्जाम्पल चाह रहे हैं, रियल एग्जाम्पल, तो इसका रियल एग्जाम्पल मैं इतना ही कह सकता हूँ कि अगर आपके पास 2 चाल हैं
जी,
आपके पास 2 चालें हैं और उन दोनों चालों का पहली वाली चाल का आपने 33.33% और दूसरी वाली चाल का 66.66% आपने यूज किया
करेक्ट.
इन ए गेम, तब आपका जो प्रॉफिट होगा वो -4/3 होगा.
फिर उसके लिए तो स्ट्रेटजी मेकिंग करना पड़ेगा ना, अकॉर्डिंग टू टारगेट अचीव करने के लिए.
नहीं, यहाँ पे आप गेम खेल रहे हैं. यही मैं आपको बता रहा था. गेम का मतलब है कि मैक्स मिनी, यानी मेरे मिनिमम प्रॉफिट को मैक्सिमाइज करना. अगर मैं गेम की जगह वार खेलता तो मेरा क्राइटेरिया होता मैक्स प्रॉफिट ऑफ इट. तो जब अपन गेम खेलते हैं, गेम में जैसा कि नाम है, स्पिरिट होती है अलग, और इसमें हम ये भी ध्यान रखते हैं कि सामने वाले का जो लॉस है वो कम हो. दैट इज व्हाई वी आर यूजिंग मैक्स मिनी प्रॉफिट ऑफ ए and your mini max loss of B
at fair conditions.
Yes, fair conditions.
Thank you.
Okay.